This is a vision I had for Immanuel. It is August 2nd, 2023. We spoke about it a little bit, but it had a bit more to go. So the first couple of things that I saw was I saw basically what represented evil or darkness or anything in the realm of the demonic or of Satan and that kind of stuff. But it was very childlike, and there wasn't much to be afraid of. The second thing that I saw was it was a nun and a bishop or priest and then another nun. And they were crossing over this small little bridge that you'd put in like a garden, a really tiny one. And they were waving like they were something special, like royalty or something like that. And they were passing by. It was clear that that was passing. And the first nun was in navy blue. The priest or bishop was in a lighter green with gold running through it. And white. I think the outfit was white, and what went over it was green and gold. Anyway, and then the nun was in black. And then after these things passed, there was a man at the bottom of a mountain, and he was looking up, getting ready to go on a journey up the hill, up this mountain, and there was a ancient pathway, and it had steps that led up to the very top. And this man was a shepherd, and he had a staff in his hand, and he had a hatchet like on his belt. I never saw him use it, but he had it. And then he had a cloak on him that was made to be pretty sturdy. It was just basically to withhold and withstand anything that would come against this man. This cloak, this covering was strong enough to protect him, basically. As he's walking up this mountain, he's taking his staff and he's breaking the steps in half. I'd say they were about 2 to 3 feet in length, and he basically broke half of that off. And once he broke off a step, you could see the side of it, and out of the side of it was pouring water. And the water was just coming out of there and pouring out and down. And it happened with each step that he broke. I don't know that he broke every single step. It seemed like each step was not only literally a step, but like figuratively a step towards the top. So some, I think, remained, and many were broken in half. It was also the job of this man to drop seed along this path. And he did so from a few different places. One was, I think, from his shoe. Or he was wearing a sandal, but like lower down, like there. And then another one was from his pocket. And then he released these seeds and just dropped them along the path also as he went up. And he traveled all the way to the top of this mountain, and he stood at the top. And once he was there, I saw that he took off his hood of the cloak or covering, and he was a man that was of Asian descent. I don't know where from. He was completely bald, like his head was like shiny bald. And then he turned into Immanuel. Now, Immanuel was there, and he was looking up sort of towards the heavens off to the left, and the hand of the Father came down to him, but it had to go through the crown of thorns, which was made up of gold, a gold crown of thorns. And the Father stuck his hand through there and landed right next to Immanuel. And this hand was like the size of Immanuel. It was huge. And the hand of the Father opened, and there was, I think, about 5 scrolls in there, and each one was lined on the outside with a different color. Can't be specific of what color went with each scroll, but I didn't even see what was in all of these scrolls, but Immanuel would take them out, and there was some sort of conversation between him and the Father as far as questions and going over these scrolls in conversation. And most were put back into his hand after Immanuel looked him over, but one in particular was not, and he opened it up sideways, and off to the right a little bit and the scroll was a map. And this map reminds me of like an actual physical map that we used to use to be able to get in directions. And it was a city, I guess, with streets and roads and names of places. And I saw the word Libya on there. Anyway, and so after he looks over the map, talks with the Father, he rolls it up and he puts it into his bag. I don't know if he puts it into he does put it into his bag. And then he takes out a bow, an arrow, and he kind of flicks the bow part, like the, whatever that's made of on the bow, the rope or whatever it's made of, and kind of flicks it, and it's really strong. And then he takes an arrow, and I think this scroll might be wrapped around it, or it might not. I don't know. It looks to me like it is. Anywho, and he shoots at the arrow, and it actually has a string connected. So it connects him to where he's at, to where the arrow is going, and I can see where the arrow is going. It just goes for a really long time. And then I see that it kind of lands. This is really, let's see, hard to explain. It kind of lands as a pin drop, and it kind of bounces a little bit, but then it kind of bounces up and down a little bit, and then bounces off to another destination, and like another, and then another. And I think it stops at that point, but it kind of bounces to a few places before it gets to its destination. And that was the end of the vision.